Hello, bonjour everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Sarah Bergen. I'm part of the task force and I'm from Victoria, BC. I work for the BC Public Service and the Ministry of Health. I'd also like to acknowledge two of our group members who unfortunately weren't able to be with us today, Isabelle Duchaine and Larissa Crawford, who hail from Toronto and Calgary respectively and have brought an incredible contribution to our report, and we certainly wouldn't be here without their research and writing and dedication to this project. So I just want to acknowledge them as well, and I'll let my two colleagues introduce themselves.
Bonjour, Christian Sénéchal de Montréal. Je dirige une organisation non lucrative qui s'appelle Les Arts et la Ville et on fait de l'accompagnement pour les municipalités et les autres gouvernements locaux à utiliser les arts et la culture comme outil de développement durable.
Salut, je m'appelle Joshua, je viens de Prince Edward, Saskatchewan, mais maintenant je habite à Boston, where I work in biotechnology trying to make medicine from bacteria.
We want to start by talking about our report, which is entitled Benefit Not Burden, Older Workers and the Future of Work in Canada. Our project, when we started it, was looking at all the different things that seem to surround us about the future of work. Artificial intelligence, automation, increased reliance on labor and contracts. And what we thought when we looked around was also the changing face of Canada. We know that Canada is aging. We know that by 2036, half of our population will be over the age of 55. And that made us realize that the future of work is also about the future of the aging workforce. As a part of the work that we did, we wanted to tell the story of older workers and of their experiences and what it's like for them in the workplace today and where we're going. For the purpose of our report, we define older workers as 55 and older, and we want to acknowledge that there's a wide variety of experiences for older workers, intersecting with their gender, with their race, and with a variety of regional activities around the country. So we, in doing this, looked at 5 recommendations and 3 internal actions that we believe will help shape the future for our aging workforce. We conducted a couple of source analysis to shape our report. The first part of this analysis was a jurisdictional scan looking at provinces and territories and the policies and programs that exist in them. We examined those and also looked to the literature for expert knowledge on supports for older workers and also where there may be biases and ageism. As a part of this analysis, we found one key document that really guided our project, and that was the Framework for Older Adults Under the Law, put out by the Ontario Law Commission. And that really has 2 fundamental principles that we followed in our report. The first of these is that when we're looking at policies that impact older adults, we want to look for recommendations that have positive outcomes for them. And the second is that we are looking for a wide variety of experiences to be represented in the recommendations that we're making and that they have broad impacts. Our scan also showed us, though, that there's gaps in the literature, that we don't know a lot about the programs and policies that exist, that there are gaps between them in the way they support a variety of experiences. And for that reason, we went out to talk to people. We talked to experts, we talked to older workers themselves, we talked to government officials and employers. They told us about a variety of experiences, and I want to highlight one particular older worker who had a profound impact on us. Bridget Morgan is a 64-year-old personal and professional development instructor based in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. She's retired twice already. She worked once for the public service and then again for the school board. Since then, she's gone on to work as a continuing care and assistant instructor. She continues to work for a few really important reasons. Because she finds satisfaction in her work, because she believes she's having a positive impact on her community, and because she feels she's valued for being paid for her work. Stories like hers are what motivated us in this report and in wanting to make sure that there is a future for aging workers which is vibrant and dynamic and honors a variety of ways of working. And from that, moving forward, I'm going to pass it over to talk about our recommendations.
For the past 50 years, Canada's labour force participation's rate have driven economic growth. Our research found that older Canadians are eager to continue working, both for financial reasons and also because they derive a significant amount of personal satisfactions from participating in the labor market. However, our current system contains a number of structural barriers that discourage workers from being employed. Data from BWC show that Canada can boost GPD by $53.1 billion if our older worker employment rate are as high as Sweden's, an increase from 65.8% to 75%. To get there, we have 5 recommendations for federal government. First recommendations, federal government should set a target of 75% for older worker employment rate. Ultimately, this is the choice of individual Canadians when they choose to stop working for pay. The role of federal government is to remove the barrier to implement that prevent workers from getting jobs. The second recommendations, the federal government should reframe the way it talks about and the value it places in older workers. It's unfair and frankly offensive to talk about older Canadians as burdens or drains on our economic and health system. Instead, the government should take a leadership role in understanding the value that older Canadians play in our workforce. The third recommendations, the federal government should not develop a targeted older worker employment strategy. We heard this loud and clear from our consultations with provincial partners and employers who cited sustainability concern, challenge attracting partners, and intergenerational tension as clear reason to refrain from develop a targeted strategy. The fourth recommendation, the federal government should raise the age retirement from 65 to 67. As Canadians are spending more time in post-secondary educations, the length of the time that they are working in, the length of the time that they are in the workplace is shrinking. Provisions to support early retirement should continue. The fifth and last recommendations, the federal government should implement policy that encourage flexible work so that older workers can adapt their work to their health, lifestyles, and caregiving needs. Le choix des politiques publiques à mettre en œuvre et la façon dont on va les déployer est important. Mais la façon dont le choix des politiques que le gouvernement doit mettre en œuvre est important, mais la façon effectivement dont elles sont déployées et qui vont être utilisées l'est encore plus. Nous présentons donc 3 actions tangibles pour le gouvernement fédéral. Ces propositions d'action sont basées sur des entrevues et sur la littérature scientifique que nous avons consultée. Et on croit que ces actions-là peuvent aussi être employées par d'autres employeurs afin d'avoir une meilleure préparation pour les organisations et les milieux de travail à recevoir et à garder les personnes âgées. Mais avant tout, ces actions-là vont permettre de créer des politiques publiques qui ont une perspective qui est basée sur l'âge. La première action, avoir une conversation sur l'âge et l'agisme en milieu de travail. C'est le premier point pour préparer nos milieux afin de s'assurer que les employés et les employeurs comprennent bien ce qu'est l'agisme et les approches anti-agisme. La deuxième action, il faut former les responsables des politiques et les décideurs dans vos milieux de travail par un spécialiste des approches anti-agisme. Ceci va permettre aux responsables des politiques et aux décideurs de s'engager dans une réelle perspective qui tient compte de l'âge avec une approche anti-agisme. Et la troisième et dernière action, réévaluer les politiques et les pratiques internes existantes et adopter une perspective qui tient compte de l'âge. Ça va permettre de renforcer la capacité des employés à comprendre ces approches-là. Et si on pousse cette action-là plus loin, c'est de prendre les talents qu'on a à l'interne pour revisiter et examiner ces pratiques-là. Et finalement, cela va contribuer à encourager la transformation de l'intérieur vers l'extérieur et mieux positionner les équipes de responsables des politiques qui vont appliquer ces approches-là aux stratégies, initiatives et politiques externes.
I must admit, when I started thinking about the future of work, I thought about automation, AI, the gig economy. But an essential part of the future of work are the workers. It's the human element. And too often we forget about that. With over half of our workforce being above the age of 55 by 2036, if we do not build a future of work that works for older Canadians, we do not build a future of work that works for Canada. Therefore, where before I thought about the future of work as millennials in a coffee shop, banging away on a keyboard, trying to design some cool code, I now actually think of Madeline Myers, a 73-year-old woman from rural Nova Scotia who is an entrepreneur running a solar power energy company. We need more Madelines if we want to have a bright future. Lastly, dernièrement, nous voudrions remercier le Forum des politiques publiques, Action Canada, nos autres fellows et vous. La dernière année était un grand plaisir. Grâce à vous, nous avons mieux découvert le Canada, exploré un sujet très important et commencé à nous préparer pour l'avenir. Merci beaucoup. And now I believe it is time for questions en français ou anglais.
I'll ask a question.
Your mic.
Merci beaucoup pour votre présentation. Mon intuition, c'est que c'est une idée très intéressante de ne pas avoir de stratégie canadienne. However, it seems to me, and I think this may have come up before, you make a case for thinking hard about issues that affect older workers that don't affect other workers. So it seems to me the logical conclusion might be that you need, in effect, two strategies or parallel strategies. One that is designed to pay attention to the needs of older workers, and then another one that does distinguish and includes older workers in an overall labor market strategy. So what do you say?
Thank you so much for the question. I think you make an interesting point, and it's something that we've talked about a fair amount, and that is this idea of do you have a targeted strategy or do you not have a targeted strategy? I think through the work that we did, we found that what was getting lost in targeted strategies was that they weren't always impacting the population in the way they were intended to, that they didn't encourage a sense of inclusivity, that there is this issue, which I think you pointed to in your question, where you're through targeting age groups, whether that be older workers or younger workers or people in a specific population, that you're potentially creating some intergenerational tension, that you're also maybe not focusing on the skills that are actually pertinent to having people remain in the workforce or having them enter back into the workforce around things like communication or around skills like technology and other like essential skills like literacy. So I think the reason that we have decided to encourage not a targeted strategy in this particular report is because we really would like to draw attention to, and you can find more details in our report about this if you're interested, about how we should be looking at essential skill, inclusive workforce strategies. First and foremost, I do think that there's still room for debate around these questions about targeted strategies, and certainly that's something that we have to work out and something we've talked a lot about, and how do you reach specific populations. But I think what we wanted to do is say first and foremost, we need to be looking at inclusive strategies.
Thank you.
Shall we read the questions?
Yes, please. Everyone else will see them as well.
So when you recommend increasing the retirement age by 2 years, do you mean for mandatory retirement or for pension collection? Does anybody want?
There are a few implications of that. We are talking as it relates to Canada Pension Plan. Something that we've talked a lot about is around the fact that a lot of our programs for OAS, for CPP, Old Age Security, for Canada Pension Plan, even around retirement policies that exist in workplaces about when people may have to mandatorily retire or not, are based around specific ages, and we're looking to move those. Well, suggestions around moving specifically in this the retirement age by 2 years as that relates to Canada Pension Plan. And I think there's a broader dialogue here about whether or not we include ages in these policies now, whether we look to other markers like years of experience or health indicators or things like that. So that's, I think, the broader note that we're sending towards, but this is specifically talking about Canada Pension Plan.
Shall we take the second one?
Sure, I'll read it and then I'll decide. The second question is, tell us more about ageism. How do you deal with it when it is often an unconscious bias and can be discreet? Any advice? Josh, you want to take that?
Yeah, I would love to speak to this. So I think truly the 3 actions that Duchaine walked through are very much targeted at this. And the beginning point for any challenge of such nature as ageism is having a conversation and dialogue within your workforce. It is a pervasive barrier that strikes across all companies, all employers, all companies. And we really do believe that step 1 is having structured, formatted conversations that specifically target and have a chance for people to work through, understand what is ageism, how they might have their own biases, unconscious or conscious, and what they can do. And I think if you do have the time to go to the report and read through the 3 actions, you'll really see a series of concrete steps that any company, employer, or organization can take to begin to tackle ageism in their own place of work.
I may just add something to that. Sometimes what is said in anti-ageism or not said, and there's a lot about perceptions. There's action done or not done who give the perceptions to the other worker that they are not needed. So, and this is how we want to focus specifically on anti-ageism approach. What are your view of the training and retraining needs of older workers in a society where technology has changed the nature of work dramatically? Je vais répondre à celle-là en français, si vous me permettez. Effectivement, il y a là une très grande problématique sur comment donner des nouveaux talents, des nouvelles capacités aux travailleurs aînés. Mais je dois dire que ce qu'on a découvert dans nos recherches est encore plus profond que ça. Souvent, il y a le mythe qui est difficile ou qui n'est pas nécessaire d'investir dans le training, dans la formation de nos personnes. Mais on est dans un système ici au Canada et ailleurs dans le monde où il y a très peu de programmes de formation pour des employés qui sont plus vieux que 30 ou 35 ans. Fait que le problème n'est pas de former des gens qui sont en changement de carrière après 55 ans. Le problème est de s'assurer qu'il y a une formation continue tout au long de la carrière d'un individu. Donc, c'est de former nos gens et nos travailleurs à être formés tout au long de leur carrière.
I'll just read the next question and address it. The next question being, what did the presenters hear regarding older workers who may not agree with the notion of raising the retirement age, which could include impact to OAS, access to OAS? Yeah, it's an important question. It's something that we did hear about and that certainly we discussed. I think there are 2 pieces which we acknowledge a little bit more in depth in the report. One is around the economic and social interests of raising the retirement age and the importance of that, which we've already spoken about, and I won't touch on too much at this point. The second is that there is a counterbalance to that, which is having more robust support programs for people who may need to leave the workforce for very pertinent reasons, such as illness or disability or other factors that may influence their working lives and their ability to remain in the workforce. And we need to, as a counterbalance, look to robust programs for this. And I think, in addition, look at what our programs are around a guaranteed income supplement, around perhaps a minimum basic income, around other programs that are going to support those people who aren't able to remain in the workforce either permanently or for a period of time, in the same way that we're looking to support people who want to continue working. They really work on a spectrum, and it's not one or the other. Yeah. Okay, we'll take one more question, and it looks like from Sally. Especially with our current situation in mind, recommendations were flexible work are so important. Did you explore ideas for how to incentivize employers? I don't think that we did to any great extent. I don't think we can comment on that in great detail, other than we did hear about a really great level of interest, and we have in our report pointed towards some areas where you could sort of write a whole other report on flexible work and pointed to some areas where people may want to consider doing that if they wanted to take up this topic in the future, around flexible work, not just being people's idea of remote work, but also different schedules, different approaches to shift work, and sort of a variety of things that come with that.
Maybe with that, I just wanted to thank you for your presentation, and we're going to switch to the next group.